Welcome to the Alberta Legislature for Thursday, May the 3rd, 1990. My name is David Carter, Speaker of the Assembly and member for Calgary-Egmont. Today, during question period, no doubt there will be some questions raised with regard to the strike that is taking place with social workers. Following question period, the House will move to dealing with written questions, motions for return, and then on Private Members' Day, the member for Calgary-Buffalo is proposing a motion dealing with conflict of interest guidelines and more open government. The bill that will be debated at 4:30 this afternoon is sponsored by the member for Edmonton Centre and deals with Community Health Centre Act. This evening, when the House reconvenes in debate with regard to Committee of Supply, the department up for estimates this evening is Transportation and Utilities. Let us pray. As Canadians and as Albertans, we give thanks for the precious gifts of freedom and peace which we enjoy. As members of this Legislative Assembly, we rededicate ourselves to the valued traditions of parliamentary democracy as a means of serving our province and our country. Amen.
Introduction of visitors. Petitions. Reading and receiving petitions. Presenting reports by standing and special committees. Notices of motions. Introduction of bills. Tabling returns and reports.
Minister of Energy.
I have three reports I would like to table with this legislature. The first is the 1988-1989 annual review of the Energy Conservation and Renewable Energy Research, Development, and Demonstration Program. The second is the annual review 1988-89 for the Alberta Canada Energy Resources Research Fund. Finally, Mr. Speaker, the annual review 1988-89 for the Alberta Office of Coal Research and Technology.
Minister of Advanced Education.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to file copies of the response to written question number 234 asked by the Honourable Member for Edmonton Centre.
Thank you. Member for Edmonton Jasper Place.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to file 4 copies of an article from Pulp and Paper Canada regarding Crestbrook Forest Industries, the other pulp mill operated by the owners of Alpac. It's a story that every Albertan and everybody involved in this should read.
We just file them, we don't comment about them.
Introduction of special guests.
Deputy Premier.
Mr. Speaker, I'm delighted today to be able to introduce some Medicine Hat folks who are here. It's not often I get that opportunity due to the distance from Medicine Hat from Edmonton. But today in the members and public galleries, we have 73 students, teachers, and parents from Crestwood School, located in my constituency. The teachers are Doug Lamarche, Shelley Reisdorf, Bev Wheats, Wade Lawson, David George, and they're accompanied by parents Marilyn Sigmund, Wendy Smith, Molly Porter, Debbie Sane, and Judy Federkyle. I'd ask them all now to rise and receive the warm welcome of members of this Assembly.
Edmonton Jasper Place.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure to introduce 12 students from Jasper Place Composite High School. This is an achievement class. These are very bright students who are here to find out what we'll make of the world that they'll inherit. They're accompanied by their teacher, Elaine Untershoot. They're in the public gallery. I'd like them to rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
Member for Edmonton Millwoods.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to introduce to you and the members of the Assembly this afternoon a group of professional social workers, members of the Alberta Union of Provincial Employees, who are here studying the workings of our government. I'd ask them to stand now and receive the warm welcome of the members.
Rocky Mountain House.
I have a great pleasure today to introduce to you three people from the Rocky constituency that mean a very great deal to me, and I would ask them to stand as I introduce them. Shirley King and Pat Storm, my two secretaries from my Rocky office, and my mother, Elizabeth Lund.
Ministerial statements. Oral question period.
Leading the opposition.
Speaker, I'd like to direct my question to the Minister of Family and Social Services, Mr. Speaker. This morning, Mr. Speaker, the government announced its intention to seek an injunction against the Alberta Union of Public Employees, trying to force them to go back and trying to force them to stop picketing, Mr. Speaker. First, the government enacts unfair labor laws that frankly belong in another century, and now it's trying to hide behind those laws instead of resolving the legitimate issues that the workers have raised, Mr. Speaker. The government... Mr. Speaker, the government's even trying to muzzle the workers' right to freedom of speech by asking the courts to stop picketing. That means employees can't even hand out information about their demands on their own time. And I say to this minister and this government, in the long run, bullying tactics do not work, Mr. Speaker. Now my question is to the minister, why has the minister chosen unfair laws and court injunctions instead of negotiating with the people that he calls valued employees to try to resolve this dispute?
Mr. Speaker,
Let's get the answer started.
Mr. Speaker, I think we've made our position very clear, that we're sitting at the negotiating table waiting for them to put an end to an illegal strike and to come back and participate in some meaningful discussions. We are anxious to resolve these challenges, but we can't do it at the negotiating table by ourselves.
Well, Mr. Speaker, that's absolute nonsense. This minister should be aware, and I'm sure he is aware, that the government's official position on this whole issue is that there is nothing on the table on caseloads, there's nothing on wage parity, there's nothing from this government, Mr. Speaker. And I want to ask this minister, how can this minister justify and say that they're bargaining in good faith? How can he justify this position?
Mr. Speaker, as is so often the case, once again, the leader of the official opposition is right out to lunch. His facts are wrong.
I want to say to this minister then, and remember, he cannot lie in the Assembly, Mr. Speaker, what is the position of the government? Is it not true, Mr. Speaker? Is it not true that they have not put together a bargaining position, Mr. Speaker? And that is the fact that there's nothing on the table from the government. And I want him to think about this before he talks and ask him again how he can justify this position, how he can now justify bringing the law in, Mr. Speaker, when they're not even negotiating in good faith.
Well, Mr. Speaker, one thing that this minister and this government never has to worry about is lying in the Legislative Assembly. Mr. Speaker, I don't have to worry about it in the Legislative Assembly or anywhere else that I speak in this province as a minister. Mr. Speaker, this member might think that he speaks on behalf of social workers. I'd want him to know two things. We speak on behalf of social workers as well. We are anxious to see this situation resolved. But more importantly, Mr. Speaker, we also speak on behalf of Albertans. On behalf of Albertans that are at risk, on behalf of Albertans that need these essential services, on behalf of those young people in facilities like Yellowhead Youth Center,
on behalf of senior citizens, on behalf of the handicapped, on behalf of families that are facing crises, on behalf of families involved in family violence. Mr. Speaker, that's who we represent. And we're concerned. We are concerned for those Albertans, and we want to make sure that this situation doesn't reach a crisis. And that's why we have the legislation that we have, as we recognize that these are essential services. The situation has become intolerable. This government intends to move in and do something about it.
Second main question, Leader of the Opposition.
Minister, Mr. Speaker. I've never heard such claptrap in all my life, Mr. Speaker. And I want to say to this minister that if he's speaking for the social workers and he's speaking for the poor and he's speaking for Albertans, stop speaking. They're all demanding it, Mr. Speaker. Now, I want to ask the minister, just to come back to the laws that he's so proud of, Mr. Speaker. And I want him to think about this, because he's insinuated you need these laws to deal with essential services, Mr. Speaker. And my question to the minister, how do other provinces that don't have these draconian laws, how do they establish and work with their people, Mr. Speaker? Are you saying that they do worse in Alberta, Mr. Speaker, in this area?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the member raises a very good point, and I'm sure that the Minister of Labour will want to supplement my answer. But he's quite right. We do have a very good track record in this province, and I'm sure that the member, as I say, the Minister of Labour will want to supplement my response.
Speaker, but I don't see anybody jumping up. They're going to leave you to hang out there, Mr. Speaker. But I want to come back to this minister and ask this question, Mr. Speaker. How can you justify bringing in injunctions, not allowing even to hand out information pickets, and say somehow that this is fair and just, Mr. Speaker? Why don't you sit down with the people, put an offer on the table? You haven't done that yet. Why don't you do that? And this dispute would come to an end, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know if his photocopier is jammed, but he seems to be repeating the same questions and the same rhetoric. I think that we've answered that. We have put an offer on the table. We are wanting to negotiate in good faith. We've invited them to participate along with the mediator, a third party that can attest to the offer and the goodwill that we're bringing to the bargaining table. Again, Mr. Speaker, I can only say that I am anxious to see cooler heads than that member would know anything about. Cooler heads prevail, meaningful discussion, meaningful solutions. We want to be a part of that, and we are inviting social workers to be a part of that as well.
Mr. Speaker, what we need is some heads with some brains over on the other side, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, the minister is just not giving us the facts here in the legislature. And I have a letter in front of me that was sent by the president of AUPE to Mr. Dixon, maybe he's not aware of it, where it says very clearly that the employer has not been willing to negotiate caseload issues. That's what it's all about. You're not prepared to negotiate it. And then they say, well, let's go to mediation. They don't even have a proposal. What's the point of mediation? That's the point, Mr. Speaker, and I want to come back. Will the minister then, in this assembly today, sit down and table what that offer will be, Mr. Speaker, and we'll get it back to the social workers, and maybe this dispute can...
Mr. Speaker, if I heard the leader of the Liberal, or of the NDP party correctly, he's saying that this is the process, this is the place for negotiations? I don't think so, particularly if we have to deal with hot-headed rhetoric being brought forward by the leader of the NDPs. Mr. Speaker, we are anxious, and I've said it time and time again, we are anxious to see social workers put an end to this illegal strike. We are anxious to see social workers come back to the bargaining table to work with us in a meaningful way. In a meaningful way, we have put forward, Mr. Speaker, our position. We've put forward our position very clearly. We have invited them to put forward their position. We have invited them to sit down with a moderator. I don't know what more we can do. In fact, Mr. Speaker, I know that there is nothing more that we can do until they put an end to that illegal strike. That's why I'm anxious to see it behind us so that we can get on with some real progress and start putting these things behind us.
Glengarry, Leader of the Liberal Party.
Mr. Speaker, Albertans believe in fairness and equity. We also believe in the free market system. That free market system demands fairness and equity. It demands fairness in collective bargaining. It demands that when fairness exists in collective bargaining, that a strike is a strike and a lockout is a lockout in the purest sense of those words. When you monkey with that principle, then you get a very bad situation, and that's what Alberta's facing now. Mr. Speaker, you get a fake and phony system when you skew legislation in favor of one side or the other in collective bargaining, and that's what's happened with this legislation. Mr. Speaker, the public service legislation is not fair. It skews in favor of the government. My first question is to the Premier. Given that we've had the sour taste in Alberta of a nurses' strike, a strike that the majority of Albertans supported the nurses on, and now the taste of a social worker strike, social workers driven because of desperation and frustration and conscience to strike, and Mr. Speaker, also supported by the majority of Albertans, will the Premier agree to get rid of this highly unfair legislation that skews in favor of the government and gets away from fairness and equity that should exist in this whole process?
First of all, Mr. Speaker, the legislation was passed by the Legislative Assembly of Alberta, which is the democratic means of having laws created and passed. So, Mr. Speaker, let's also realize that this legislation deals with people who are in the public service, the people of Alberta, and that this legislation deals in an area of essential services. So, Mr. Speaker, also when you do have that kind of a situation, you must build in some protection for the public service, and it is there with negotiations and bargaining, with mediation, and then with arbitration.
That's it.
Mr. Speaker, the wrong advice is to say we'll negotiate only a little bit, not really meaningful, because we are there and waiting to deal with them, and they left the table. They left the table, they turned down mediation, and there's still, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, there is even arbitration within the legislation, fair arbitration. Fair arbitration. Now, these series of events are all possible. The one way to stop them all is to break the law and go on an illegal strike. And that, Mr. Speaker, is the problem facing the social workers now. We say come back, meaningful negotiations. Don't believe these who would encourage you to break the law.
That's right.
They are wrong and wrong in doing it.
Supplementary, Edmonton Glengarry.
Mr. Speaker, it is a given that legislation that was passed in this Assembly under the Social Workers Act, under the Child Welfare Act, requires social workers to do a proper investigation. Here are 5 reports that the government commissioned themselves in the 70s and in the 80s that document, that chronicle the mismanagement in the social services department. It says that the government is at fault in terms of the high caseloads that these social workers must carry, that the work isn't properly being done. How, Mr. Premier, when the fault is all on the government side, can you slap an injunction against these people for not being able to do their work?
Mr. Speaker, in fact, the honourable member is completely wrong. These social workers have done their work, and they've done it very well. The people of Alberta are well served. Unfortunately, they have been given bad advice. The social workers have been given bad advice because, Mr. Speaker, we were in a process. They were invited into a process to deal with the matter of caseloads, 2 members representing the management, 2 members representing the social workers, and a 5th or chairman who would be impartial, and they would choose them. And they would then deal with the matter. Now that is fair. That enables them to deal with the issue, but you cannot deal with the issue in the streets. You cannot deal with laws in the streets. The laws of Alberta will not be made in the streets.
That's it.
Nor will they be made by individuals like the member for Glengarry or from Norwood who say, break the law and condone it.
Right. That's right.
If there are school children here today, or if there are people watching, let's recall what's happening here. Members of this assembly condone.
Mr. Speaker, two days ago, approximately 250 social workers were at the front steps of this assembly. Yesterday they were here. Today they're here. In 3 days, I've talked to a number of social workers, and I'm convinced, Mr. Speaker, that if the Premier or the Minister simply sat down and addressed the issue of overwork of caseloads with them, we could solve this strike. Mr. Speaker, my question to the Premier is this. Before calling in policemen, before putting people in jail or slapping fines on people, before using the courts to hammer Albertans, will the Premier agree to, you don't have to go out into the street, allow these people to come into your office for half an hour today to talk about this?
Thank you, honourable member. Thank you, honourable member.
First of all, Mr. Speaker, the honourable member is wrong in his lead up to his question. The government was, in fact, negotiating with them and dealing with the matter of caseloads. I just discussed how they were putting together a fair committee. Now, I'm going to say to the honourable leader of the Liberal Party, there is no way that by breaking the law in this province, you somehow then benefit from it. I mean, how can you encourage people to do that? Certainly, Mr. Speaker, there is one way to solve this, and that is to go back to work, stop breaking the law, and negotiate it. And I think, Mr. Speaker, it's all there, and with good advice, I think the social workers who are valued employees will follow that path, because I believe the social workers are better in their feeling about the laws than these two are.
Right. Lloyd Minster.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And now changing the subject to agriculture. Prices for Canadian grain are tied to world markets. The Honourable Charlie Mayers has announced the initial prices for grain in this coming year. Spring wheat prices are down $20 to $25 per ton. And to the Minister of Agriculture, what is your reaction to his statement when input costs to farmers are escalating steadily?
Mr. Speaker, I think what the honourable member has identified is the problem that we've been talking about in this House and in other meetings, and that is the depressed world prices, because wheat, as he's mentioned, is the one that is impacted by going down, which are being primarily caused by the trade wars between the European Common Community and the United States of America. And it's hopefully those problems that we may get addressed to this round of GATT discussions. If we don't, as has been indicated before, there are some tough times ahead for export grains and oilseeds.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My supplementary. The Honourable Don Mazikowski, Federal Minister of Agriculture, has offered to cooperate in a joint venture with Alberta to help the grain and oilseed producers by matching an $80 million package. And my constituents are concerned by your stonewalling. Will you take another look and see what you can do to this situation?
Mr. Speaker, When the speeches from the experts are finished over there, Mr. Speaker, I will respond. I think it's fair to say to the honourable member that this minister is not stonewalling. I'm attempting to point out very clearly in this House, in our meetings in Ottawa and in meetings across this province to our farming community, that the Alberta government has responded in a very significant way to some of the problems being faced by our producers. That when it comes to areas of trade, that is a federal responsibility. When it comes to areas of interest rate policy setting, that is a federal responsibility. And we're still encouraging the Honourable Don Mazankowski to pay out the commitment that he has made to the Western Canadian grain and oilseed producers.
Edmonton Jasper, please.
Procter & Gamble violates the law 36 times in 2 years. They
Yeah,
get
how
hugs
about
and
that,
kisses
Don?
from
How
the
about law
environment.
enforcement, huh? Law and order, come on.
Waiting to see how the social workers are treated by the government. It's now been 6 weeks since the new ALPAC proposal was discussed in the Premier's office. During that time, the communities affected have been given no information by the provincial government. The only information that's been available is what's leaked out, and there's more of it in the news media today. ALPAC is owned by Crestbrook Forest Industries, in turn owned by Honshu Paper and the Mitsubishi Corporation. Crestbrook operates a pulp mill at Skookumchuck in British Columbia. It's more than interesting that that mill began with the new innovative bleaching process. It didn't work, and in 1976 the government gave them permission to go back to the chlorine bleaching process, back to the stinking, filthy, polluting pulp mills. Well, hey, I think we should take a picture of this one. They start off with innovative bleaching, and then they go to chlorine bleaching.
Well, honorable member, please. Order, order, order. Now the question.
The question to the Minister of the Environment is what kind of guarantee can he give that this government isn't going to allow ALPAC to go back to chlorine bleaching when the new process doesn't work?
Well, Mr. Speaker, what we have in the form of a question is an opportunity, I guess, for the this minister, to speculate. And I'm not going to speculate. I'm not in the business of speculation. I'm in the business, Mr. Speaker, of getting the facts, of doing proper assessments of a situation. I'm in the business of getting honest, straightforward information so I can present that information to my colleagues in government, and so we can make sound, intelligent decisions. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister of the Environment has shown where he's at by issuing licenses to pulp mills without consulting with Albertans, allowing millions of kilograms of chlorinated organic sludge to be dumped in the river. He's shown where he's at. How can we believe that he won't do the same thing with this ALPAC project, giving them a permit to dump a few additional millions of kilograms of organic sludge into the river system? Why should we believe him this time when he says it's going to be different?
Well, are you finished? It's, are you finished? Yeah. Right. Any more questions over there? Right. Okay, fine. Mr. Speaker, first of all, to address the allegation that there wasn't public input into the Wellwood situation, into the Procter & Gamble situation at Grand Prairie is absolutely false. Very basically, with respect to the Hinton process, there were documents submitted. Those documents were open for viewing by the public at a number of open houses. There was an extensive deficiency review of those particular documents by the department, taking into account the public's input. Those deficiencies were passed on back to the company, and on the basis of those rules that existed then relative to environmental impact assessments, a license was issued. It was issued to probably one of the cleanest bleachcraft mills in the world today. With respect to Procter & Gamble, we put in a process that has never existed before relative to a public review a public review and ongoing monitoring by the public of the license renewal process. So I don't know what this member is talking about when he stands up there and says and misleads this House by saying there was no public involvement. That, Mr. Speaker, to quote the honorable leader of the opposition, is claptrap.
Edmonton Gold Bar, followed by Red Deer North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, most of us in this House are parents or grandparents or both. Most Alberta parents know all too well. Speak for yourself. Speak for yourself. All right. Mr. Speaker, most Alberta parents know all too well the responsibility that's charged to them to ensure that their children are raised in a secure and warm and healthy environment. And we worry when they're having trouble in school or when they're out late, and worse, we get a little bit frantic when they don't come home. Mr. Speaker, this week my constituency office, and I'm sure the offices of all MLAs, have been getting calls from people wanting to know where the minister's children are. Those children who've been placed in his care. And they want to know why, as the children's surrogate parent, why he's neglecting them. Mr. Speaker, the question is, does the minister know where all his children are?
Thank you. That's long enough, Honorable Member. No, thank you. Minister, please. Order, please. Order. No, order. Let's get on.
Fellows. Serious stuff.
Rather a peculiar question, and I think that member has a lot of gall even asking that question. Because on one hand, they sit over there, and they tell social workers to go out on a legal strike. And then they turn around on the other hand and they say, how can you allow those children to be at risk? Well, those children are at risk because those social workers are on strike. And I think you have a lot of nerve.
That's the worst yet.
Mr. Speaker, you have to have a lot of nerve, Mr. Minister, to look after vulnerable children. I wish you had it. I wish you had it.
Little bit of heart.
Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the minister, will there be any police action taken against the children who left the center, many of whom left because they're terrified? They have no one to turn to. Are you going to arrest them?
Mr. Speaker, this government is concerned for those children, and this government shows their concern through the legislation that we have in place. We recognize how vulnerable those children are. We recognize that we're dealing with troubled young people. We're recognizing that we're dealing with very fragile individuals. I went in there and I talked with some of them. I know the concerns that they're going through. I know how hard this strike has been on those young people. I know how disruptive it is to the limited progress that they had begun to make. And that, Mr. Speaker, is exactly why we've taken the action that we have taken. We want those children cared for. We want social workers back to work. We want social workers back at the negotiating table so that we can sit down with them, Mr. Speaker, and address the outstanding issues and get them resolved so those children are provided for.
Red Deer North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister of Advanced Education, Red Deer College is presently experiencing some fiscal challenges related to their deficit, and part of their suggested solution involves reallocation of program money in order to preserve dollars, some of which would be operating dollars. In response to questions that I'm receiving from constituents, I wonder if the Minister could indicate to us whether the college needs prior approval of the Minister before they reallocate program dollars.
Mr. Speaker, as a self-governed institution under the Colleges Act, Red Deer College Board of Governors have quite a degree of latitude In most cases where dollars are appropriated for specific programs, obviously permission of the minister would have to be given to reallocate those dollars. However, there have been programs in the past where the minister has requested the cooperation of the college to respond to a given need, so I can't answer the question in a very definitive way. That's up to the Board of Governors of the college, but I would assume that the board would ask the minister if they plan to reallocate any funds.
In addition to the area of program dollars, Mr. Speaker, there's some question of operation dollars for the Arts Center, which is associated with the college. And I wonder if the minister could respond to the question, dollars that have been designated to the college for the operation of the center, can those be reallocated to other areas of the college, again, without approval of the minister?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the department, with funds appropriated by this House, provides lights on operating cost for all parts of an institution. The theater center that was constructed with a contribution, I might add, from Red Deer City is provided with operating funds to operate the physical plant. There are program funds allocated as part of their fine arts program and so on for programs carried on within there. One would only expect, Mr. Speaker, with good governing by the institution, that the institution would maintain that facility in such a manner that they could carry out their programs. How it would be funded to operate for the benefit of the community would simply be a matter, I think, between the community and Red Deer College, and not, frankly, a matter of this minister.
Calgary Forest Lawn.
The Southern Alberta Institute of Technology announced that they're pulling out of their Batam project. A partner, Mr. Speaker, in this project has received a loan guarantee of $4.5 million from this province to build a barge. The government has never given Albertans, Mr. Speaker, any understanding or any details of this particular loan guarantee. Now, I understand, Mr. Speaker, that SAIT is using its operating funds to pay the interest on this loan. So my question is to the Minister of Advanced Education. In light of SAIT's difficult financial situation, why does the minister allow SAIT to use its operating funds in this way?
Mr. Speaker, the Southern Alberta Institute of Technology, again, is a board-governed institution. Mr. Speaker, the SAIT is not using its operating funds to pay interest on anything based on the comments of the Board of Governors to me as their minister. They've been using reserves and accumulated reserves to maintain any ongoing operation of the Bataan International Training Project located near Singapore.
Well, I hope the minister would, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd hope that the minister would check into that. And my supplementary question, Mr. Speaker, is to the treasurer, who's supposed to be responsible for protecting the public interest when loan guarantees are made by the province. What action is the treasurer taking to make sure that Alberta taxpayers do not experience yet another loss through government mismanagement in the case of this alert disaster control loan?
Mr. Speaker, the government, as I have said repeatedly in this House, anytime the government offers a guarantee as part of an initiative, a part of a package, we take full security against that position, Mr. Speaker, and do it for a variety of reasons, Mr. Speaker, reasons which will allow our expertise to be exported into other markets, to allow new investment to take place here, Mr. Speaker, to allow new companies in this province to expand, Mr. Speaker, to allow new jobs to be developed here, Mr. Speaker, to allow private sector to prosper here, Mr. Speaker. There's a long list of reasons why we put guarantees, Mr. Speaker, and I appreciate the opportunity of confirming that we like the idea. We have done it successfully in terms of economic expansion, and it is working, Mr. Speaker.
Edmonton Calder, followed by Edmonton Meadowlark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My questions are to the Minister of Family and Social Services. This minister is trying to get us to believe that he cares about social workers and he cares about all those people in Alberta who are in need of help. Well, Mr. Speaker, he might care now that there's a strike on, but he certainly hasn't cared in the past. Because the fact is that we have 29 food banks throughout this province. 3 have just opened up in the last 2 months. And this minister is responsible for that. And I'd like to ask the minister, if he cares so much, why does he continue to sit back and do nothing while more and more people are forced to use our food banks.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know where that member's been to suggest that we're sitting back and doing nothing. I know that she was here when we brought forward our budget with the 3.1% increase. I know that she's heard me talk about social reform in this Legislative Assembly on numerous occasions. I know that she's heard me talk about the visits that I've had throughout this province to our offices located from northwest to southeast. I know that she's been here when I've talked about some of the new initiatives that we've announced in cooperation with some of my ministerial colleagues, the Minister of Career Development and Employment. I know that she's heard about our government's efforts as it relates to secondary education and advanced education. I know that she's heard a lot of the things we've said, so I can't understand, Mr. Speaker, why she'd even ask that question.
Well,
the biggest growth industry in Canada.
Supplementary, Mr. Speaker, the fact is that 3 new food banks have opened up in this province, and that's nothing that the minister should be proud of. And I would ask the minister then that people in this province who need help, and we're talking about a lot of children, they are being placed at risk by this minister and by this government because their basic needs are not being met, and social workers cannot spend enough time with their clients to help them improve their situation. And if this minister truly is concerned about the welfare of people in this province, will he prove it by immediately raising social assistance rates and reducing caseloads for income security workers?
Get on with it. Answer. Give it a crack.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to be able to respond. I'd like to be able to respond to that.
Forgive me. There'll be comments up here if the chair wishes to make them without direction from you, Leader of the Opposition. Thank you very much. Park it. Honourable Minister, with your answer. Without your editorializing, sir. Without yours. Thank you very much, Honourable Member. Thank you very much. Honourable Member. Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, the member raises some questions as it relates to caseloads. We're, as I've indicated on many occasions, we are anxious to see caseloads reduced. We recognize that there's a number of ways that we can do that. One of the most obvious, and I know it escapes the member opposite, but one of the most obvious is to see the caseload size itself going down. And I know that the member was here when I shared some of that information with the Assembly, that we are down some 3,000 cases from this time last year. Now I know that the member described that as insignificant statistics, but those are 3,000 cases, 3,000 families, Mr. Speaker, and they're very significant numbers to those particular individuals. And I'm very pleased to see that some of our initiatives are starting to take hold. I'm very pleased to see this trend of a downward size in our caseload. And I know, Mr. Speaker, that through the initiatives of this government, through the initiatives of my colleagues as it relates to the economic initiatives, the job opportunities that we are creating in this province at a record rate. I know that, again, through the initiatives of the Minister of Career Development and Employment, who I work very closely with, that we'll continue to see that caseload go down. As the other thing that I've made very clear is that we are going to continue to bring forward new social reforms. But I'm anxious to again, work with our caseload, putting an emphasis, Mr. Speaker, on independence, and helping them get out into the mainstream of society in a meaningful way.
Meadowlark. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Premier has attempted to discredit the ALPAC review panel process by calling it biased, one-sided, and unbalanced. We can only wonder why, if that's the case. ALPAC itself would take the message of that review panel to heart and respond by coming forward with a second proposal that will reduce organochlorine output by 80%, a significant environmental improvement over the first proposal. Will the Premier please admit that this is clear proof that open public environmental impact assessments work and that they should be applied to each of the northern pulp mill projects in question, their FMAs, their forestry management agreements, and in fact the second ALPAC proposal?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member is speculating about something, and I guess certainly not anything that has come to our cabinet. I'd like him also to refresh his memory on what I said about the review process. I congratulated the members of the panel. I thanked them on behalf of all Albertans. They were doing something that's never been done before, and they ended up doing as good a job as they possibly could under the conditions. Then I said we can all learn from this. We can make sure that we can do it better in the future. Now that isn't putting down the panel, and those quotes that he made are completely false. And he surely has an obligation to review Hansard and see what I said, and not to try and distort that way, because normally he is above that. But today I'm afraid that he's falling into the trap of his new leader, I guess.
History. Yeah, exactly.
You can't rewrite.
So you admit it. You admit it. The company's right for coming back, and the process does work. Could the Premier please comment on this? The new ALPAC proposal combines hydrogen peroxide with chlorine dioxide, a process which can be improved significantly by doing away with the chlorine dioxide with very little risk in terms of, or little sacrifice in terms of the brightness of the end product, the paper. Will the Premier please push ALPAC one step further to take chlorine dioxide out of their hydrogen peroxide process rather than sacrificing the integrity of the environment for non-detectable levels of brightness in this paper?
Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Minister of Environment may want to comment on the so-called proposal that the Honourable Member is talking about. It certainly hasn't come to our Cabinet. If it may be in the Department of Environment being assessed, as the Minister has said, and that's where the assessment's being done. Now, if the Honourable Member has got something that he's read in a newspaper or something, that's a different matter. The Minister of Environment may want to add something to my reply.
The environment.
Mr. Speaker, as I pointed out earlier, this matter is being assessed by our Department of the Environment and by the Federal Department of the Environment. We're looking at the process that has been proposed very carefully. If the honourable member for Meadowlark wants to suggest to the company that this might be a way to even better ameliorate the environmental impacts of the proposal, then perhaps he can pass on that suggestion to the company. If indeed our officials find that this is if indeed our officials find that indeed this is a logical proposal and will work within the context of the overall proposal, then I'm sure that they will make recommendations accordingly.
Edmonton Avonworth.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my questions are to the Attorney General. Recently, I was contacted by a constituent who served 3 days of jury duty, and as is the case for witnesses, she received $10 a day for a total of $30 plus $7 for bus fare. She advised me that she runs the office in a family business and stated that the pittance she received hardly compensated for her absence and the lost business that may have resulted from her absence. My question is to the Attorney General. When will the Minister abandon the rhetoric of duty and privilege, increase the jury per diem to a respectable level, and recognize the value of the work being done?
Mr. Speaker, the justice system and the jury part of that justice system is predicated on the being judged by your peers, and that is one of the responsibilities and duties we all have in servicing this justice system. Other than, and I'm not sure of the dollar figures, but from one jurisdiction to another, there's very, very little variation. We are working to ensure that any out-of-pocket expenses people incur are paid for, and there is a small, and I will readily admit, a small recompense for the time, but that's based on the judicial system tradition of serving to judge your peers.
Well, Mr. Speaker, this unhelpful attitude hurts three segments of society. It hurts the people who discharge their duty by serving as jurors or witnesses, often through lost wages. It hurts the business people who must have subsidized the costs of the legal system if in fact they pay the wages. And most importantly, it hurts each and every Albertan whose protection by the justice system is being jeopardized in order to save a few dollars. I would therefore ask the minister again, will he commit to a more equitable and fair recompense for the witnesses and jurors?
Mr. Speaker, there's no doubt that serving on a jury from time to time, and especially in cases that are become elongated, can be a disadvantage. But again, as one of the duties of our citizenship and through our justice system, you sit and judgment of others, and that is part of your duty. It would not also, and again, our justice system, be right for a government to be paying for people to come and sit on judgment of others. That is a right of citizenship and an independence.
Thank you. Time for question period has expired. Chairs has received notice that another matter will not be raised. At this point, could we have unanimous consent to revert to the introduction of special guests? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, member for Lesser Slave Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is a pleasure to introduce to you and to the members of the Legislative Assembly Dr. Ray Howard, an individual from High Prairie and an outstanding medical a representative from the medical profession, excuse me. He's sitting in the members' gallery, Mr. Speaker. I'd ask him to please rise and receive the warm welcome of the Legislative Assembly.
Understanding Order 40 from 2 days ago, Calgary McCall.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to gain unanimous consent to move the following motion, Mr. Speaker, that the Assembly extend congratulations to the Calgary Canucks Hockey Club as the 1990 Alberta Junior Hockey League champions. And, Mr. Speaker, I don't think it needs a lot of debate, but I just ask unanimous consent.
Thank you. Understanding Order 40, those in favor of unanimous consent to proceed, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Motion carries. Thank you. Calgary McCall.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to move, and all members have a copy of the notice of motion, be it resolved that the Legislative Assembly extend congratulations to the Calgary Canucks Hockey Club as 1990 Alberta Junior Hockey League champions.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Let the record show unanimously, and as a director of the Calgary Canucks, thank you very much. Order.